to do. So it looks like my guest is still stuck somewhere. But we also made an alternative plan in case he's not able to make it because his flight was delayed from Lagos to Port Harcourt, so he had to get on the road. But the last time I checked, which was 3 hours ago, he said it was in Enugu. So I want to believe that he's supposed to um, be in Port Harcourt already. And he said he would join us. Emeka Nobis, I don't know if he's in. Emeka, are you here? Okay, so if it's not in, I'm just going to hand over to Aameenah. Aameenah will take the session on how to build a successful practice, practical tips. If Emeka is not around, but Aameenah is in the building. So Aameenah, can I hand over to you
Yes,
at
sir.
the
Good
moment?
evening.
Yeah, good evening. Okay, good. I'll try and contact Emeka to know if he's still coming. If not, we just continue.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. I love you all. I'll see you shortly.
All right. Okay. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hi, IB. Hello, everyone. Um, First and foremost, I need to say that it's only PF that can give me like a 30 minutes notice and say I need you to handle something, and I have no choice than to get out of my mini vacation to come and handle it. To come and handle it. So if you see me sweating, it's because this is what they call the real hot seat. But he's asked me to step in and to share some parts of my own journey, my own experiences in setting up a successful practice. I'm on the way to being successful, but I guess one of the reasons that I am super grateful for this journey and this opportunity to be here tonight is also to say that when I started out in 2020, and I think I've shared this a little bit on the platform, when I got certified in 2020, I had just left my job of almost 10 years and as a social entrepreneur and a really successful one at that, but I was so burnt out by the many issues that I had been handling with with children from low income families. So I was completely burnt out. And I knew I was ready for something new. I was ready for something different. And of course, PF had been inviting me to take the family systems engineering course for a while. I had low key been working with teenagers and adolescents and their families. But I was, of course, using some knowledge that I got from neurolinguistic programming, life coaching, and all that. But I wasn't really actively doing much in a structured way along the line. So when I left my job January 31st in 2020, and I took the family systems engineering course in the February of that year, I also was in a space of wondering what exactly am I going to do with the next part of my life? How am I supposed to proceed with all this? We also were in that at the brink of where we knew that there were a lot of life coaches, but there were not so many structures. You would go to Instagram and you'll see sponsored ads about this person and that person doing life coaching, but you never really knew what. Okay, so how are they making the money? Is it just to show up on Instagram that would actually make you the money, or what? So when I took EPSEC in 2020, and we all know that EPSEC was like a game changer and a mind shifter in so many outstanding ways. What for me, it shifted me from in recognizing why I would work with an adolescent for almost a year and still come back and find that that adolescent is still more or less in the same space. It's not like they didn't change, but the situation surrounding them wasn't changing. So I now knew what I needed to do. That was, to also focus on helping their parents do better. And that was how the journey started. But it seems easy to say all that. So since then, I moved from charging like 5K in reports. I remember when PF would just send me 5K for a report, and then would give you this epistle of these are the things that you need to do. These are, I was mentoring under him to learn my report writing skills for 6 months. So I moved from that to now conveniently saying that not I don't personally write my reports anymore. I have like a team of at least 6 people who are on who are with me, working with me to write reports with me. They are learning how to write reports writing, and then we're also learning how to do. I have a team of 15 mentees who learn the process of actually coaching and therapizing. And how did I move from that in the space of 5 years? That's what I'm supposed to share today. But before I go into that space and share a little bit more, I wanted to also say that the journey has also afforded me the opportunity to work with people outside of our FSEC community. To recently in April, sorry, this is the in March of this year, we got awarded the opportunity to work with the Lagos State High Courts, family courts especially, and to be one of the organizations that they would be recommending or referring their the cases for family therapy, child-centered coaching and therapeutic processes. So that's one of the highlights of my hard work so far, being a family life practitioner with the Institute of Family Engineering and Development. So that's like, thank you so much. So that's like my journey. Today, I'm supposed to take you through the rudiments of how to set up, but I'm also on the lookout for Emeka Nobis because he's one person that you cannot afford to miss hearing from on how to sell shamelessly. So I'm still on the lookout for him, and I hope that he's still able to make it. Now, how do you set up your practices? Before I begin to give you, before my systematic thought self takes you back, I would like to know from everyone in the house. This is a mentoring group. This is also supposed to be an interactive session. I'd like to know what are the things for you who has been certified or is an associate practitioner or a full or a certified practitioner from systems engineering in whatever niche, whether you are a parent, a family parent or team coach, what are your current struggles in setting up a practice? So I am not just speaking from my own lens. I can share with you what has worked for me, and I can share with you the observations I've made with other from other people that I've worked with, and how perhaps you can also begin to take some of those lessons to shape and structure your own practice. So the floor is open. Thank you, everyone who said congratulations. I'm taking the messages to be sure. Okay, struggles would be a proper structure. I would like to know what exactly does this a proper structure mean to you? If you look at your practice, what are the first things that you want to, that you imagine having in place for yourself? Do we have any idea? Because structure to me may also be structured, may be different to maybe subjective, right? Structure to me would be to say from the point of entry for my clients to the point of exit. These are the things that I want to put in place, right? But structure to you could be that you're looking at, hey, how do you begin to market and everything? Okay. Um, Lola Abolari says, thank you very much. My struggle is with time and my career. Okay, I think I'm going to take it one after the other. Let me first answer IB. An ABC step. Um, the universal idea of a structured family practice would be to say that you have an entry point where your clients can know where to get you or where to meet you, not a physical space, but when they think about a particular niche, your name would come up. When they think about a particular need, you have been profoundly expressive in that area. So one of the things that I know helped me was that I started working with adolescents since 2003. So that's like more than 2 decades ago, right? So I started working with adolescents since 2003. I actively became known in my own small community as, they call me the teen whisperer. So I could calm a teenager down who's having a behavioral challenge. And that was plentifully accepted in my community. So whenever a parent has a challenge, they just say, oh, you know what, I can send it to Auntie Aameenah. Just call. So one of the ways that my 10 clients know me is to call me Queen. So they will say, we are going to call Queen and talk to her about it. And that was an opening. So if you have a niche, if you have an idea of what your niche is already, and you know um, the space well enough, you need to first show up and show up selflessly. So for most of 2003 to 2013, when I launched my first ever teen program for the Muslim community, it was just low key, speaking to parents, sharing with parents, serving in different organizations as a volunteer and all that, and people knew it that way. I do not think, no, so it's that social media wasn't that popular. And even when social media became popular, my very dependable truck personnel overrode that presence. I wasn't popular. And I still don't think I'm popular on social media, though once in a while I pop in and pop out. So, my dependable truck persona didn't, show up so much on social media, but I showed up in organizations and I spoke. I worked with teenagers, I worked selflessly. So what I would say is, first and foremost, you have to be known within your community that this is what you do. And for me, if you were to ask me what's maybe not serving shamelessly looked like, it was that whenever they thought of any problem, that had to do with adolescence, even though I may not know how to approach that problem immediately, I will still listen. And I will show up and I will listen and I will listen to the adolescent and I will just learn what it is that child is going through and I will give advice and recommend certain things, recommend books. I was there for this adolescent. And for most people, that was what they needed. Somebody to be an altar parent or a surrogate parent to the adolescent who was in crisis at that time. So my name was attached to, oh, if you have a problem with a teenager, just call Aameenah, she's going to help you with that. Now, what is your name attached to? We have the power of the social media. You have to be able to, when people are talking about cases and crises in the family sphere, if you're a family coach, you have to show up. You have to be able to present yourself as somebody who is learning. Because now the tools and strategies that you be given in Excel are not just for you to sit down and match up on. I remember that when I first started in 2020 and I was working on the PF, he would say, simulate cases for me. I don't need the breakdown of how do you work with these cases. And I'm looking at him like, cases can. Say, yes, just think about it. If, a particular case came to you, how would you approach it? And then we'll talk about it for hours. And then, that was how the strategies began to be born in me. Even at that time, I didn't know that I had all these answers. But I had somebody to share the thought process with, and that was really powerful. So for you, it could be that the first thing that you want to do is to just show up in the places where you know your audience are at. If you're on Facebook, you go to Facebook and show up regularly. The beautiful thing that you would notice about Mommy, who is, if you want to have a role model of a super marketer in the family life space, is to watch how Mommy just sit down and go through our entire Facebook page from 2023 to this year, and you would find a template of how to show up shamelessly, so to speak, because I don't think there's any other word for it. Just study how she responds to questions on her Facebook group or on her personal page. Study the kind of simulated cases or sometimes few cases that she also shares on her page. Study how she talks about her own story and shares it as a lesson point or a teaching point for her audience. And she does this Monday to Sunday without stop. And this is what it means to show up, as far as I'm concerned. There's no shortcut to it. You cannot decide and say, I'm going to do it 1 month and then you go back and not do it. It doesn't work that way. Maybe for people who are already established and people already know their name, they may get a review, but if starting out, that would be your first point. The second thing, when it comes, so now that you've defined the space of where your audience are, you now need to have programs available to sell. And I think that's where a lot of us are stuck in. So we have all these amazing tools and strategies. How do I make them into products? How do I put them into processes that people can buy? Things that I tell my mentees, and I'm telling this for free here, even though I know some people are going to be using side eye to teach me, knowing how much they paid to be my mentee, is that start with a paying program that sells a premium program. A fee paying program that helps you upsell your program. So if you study FSEC, for instance, you would notice that there's always a swap before an FSEC cohort, a new FSEC cohort in the year. So that's what it means to have a premium before a premium. You have to let people know what they are looking forward to when you want to sell a program. Now, it is from the program, the premium program, that you would, from both the premium, the free program, and the premium program, that you would also most likely begin to have people who would want, because you know you cannot satisfy people. From this session tonight, there are going to be so many questions that I may not see or that may not even show up here in the chat box because you are still listening to me. So you are still processing what it is. It is when your client or your audience have gone back to think about what you've said and how you said it, that they will now begin to think, maybe this person would actually work well with the challenge that I have. But guess what? If you did not serve them that free program for 2 years, no, actually 18 months after I finished interning with PF, I was doing what we call the Experience program. And Experience program was a free 2 hours monthly program where I brought in different diverse practitioners and amazing colleagues of mine that I've met in different spaces, right? And it was for me to ground myself in the idea of letting people know that this was what I do and this is how I did it. And the lessons are universal, but the process may be unique. And I did that for 18 months, whereby when people came for the pre-program, they were looking at, they were listening and the things were making sense to them, but they knew that they needed a personal touch. And I would get maybe one person reach out to me, say, oh, you know what, I have this challenge with my teenager, or I have this challenge with my spouse. What do you think we can do about it? And then we begin a journey. And I did in that 18 months from my records are not there because, like I said, I was away on a mini vacation before this got thrown into. But I know that if I remember correctly, in the first year, I had like maybe a staggering of 5 clients that I was working with every week. You know, I was just the first year. And I remembered when I sent my annual, what do we call it? My annual KPI to PF. And they looked at it and they said, okay, well, not bad. This is still the first year. Then the following year, he gave me twice that much for the first quarter, for the second year. So let's say, for instance, I made 1 million in 2021. That was after I worked with PF for 6 months. So the rest of 2020 was still me mastering the lessons from FSEC and everything. So in 2021, let's say I made 1 million. The following year, 2022, the first quarter of 2022, gave me the KPI of, to make 2 million from the same process that I was doing. So now I had to consolidate everything that I had shared with people for free and put it into products. And that's where putting structures around your processes began. So now, when clients called and said, "Oh, I have this problem," I offer them two opportunities. One, you could do a 3 15 minutes call, and I would listen to you. Two, you could pay me at that time maybe 5K or 10K to just again listen to you and hear you talk about your programs. I was I was being creative. I didn't know whether it was making sense. Then Mommy Mo came and said, "Aameenah, we are going to do the business family life this family coaching. And this is what I had in mind." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." So she also had something similar. And it just made sense for me to continue that way. So I was offering opportunities for people to speak to me for free. And by the time their 15 minutes is gone, they are saying, "You know what, I'm going to send you 10,000 naira now. Let's go on talking." And from them talking to me, I began to recognize a particular pattern in what the problems for most families were. And that gave me the intuition to begin to create products from the chosen strategies that PF at the Institute had shared with us. So we have things in our practice right now that range from working with couples to working with adolescents to working with individual young adults to working with adults who are just at the loss. And all this came from just listening to people. So what I'm saying in essence is the ABC step may be a learning process of number one, show up staggeringly, messily. Don't think about how people are going to observe you. I'm pretty sure that if I were to show you the videos that I was making in 2020 or 2021 to the videos that I make now, you can see the stark difference, not only in how the background was, but also in the confidence that I had. But if I didn't continue to show up, I won't be able to have that confidence. That's one. The second part of it is that when you show up, observe. So that's the next step. Observe the patterns of the people that come to you. I would like to say when we see our business as a calling, we serve the people that we have been sent to, not the people that we want. Let me take that again. When we see our business as a calling, we serve the people that we have been sent to, not the people that we want to. Because the people who really want you are the people, number one, who are going to be willing to pay you, no matter how much you charge. They're also the people that they have already seen in you the element of the solution that you are willing to provide to them, and they are going to work with you. You know, it's like going to a medical to a hospital and having an an hesitation that you don't even know whether this doctor is that knowledgeable in that pain that you want to describe to him, versus going to an hospital because the reputation or the news that you've got based on what this person has been sharing actually is what you've been dealing with all this time. Which one is most likely going to yield the best result? The one with the hesitation or the one with the already pre-informed mind of this should work or this may work, right? So you have to pay attention to who your audience are and be sure that you are serving them based on how, and I can remove the God factor here, how God is really directing those people to you. So that's the next step. Then, after observing, the, the observation will show you patterns, the kind of people that come to you, people who are perhaps dealing with infidelity, people who are perhaps dealing with anger issues, people who are most likely also dealing with teenagers with behavioral challenges, or parents who have no clue how to parent. The patterns are always going to be there. And you see this over and over again. You begin to create products. 6 weeks coaching to deal with anger management, 6 weeks coaching um, to learn compassionate parenting, or 6 weeks this and that. Basically, you're leaning into the need of your audience in that space, and you're using the products that already you have, the strategies that you already have to create the products that you want to sell out there. And that's how you begin. Now, other things that form, the design, the architectural design are you constantly learning how to, you have to I cannot overemphasize this. You have to learn how to master your report writing. For me, and maybe I'm biased, but I do believe that your report tells you so outstandingly your clients. There is nothing that anyone will tell me because there is almost no other coaching business that thrives on presenting a detailed report as much as FSEC has taught us. There is no other coaching training that has done that, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. And I'm, yes, I have the right to be biased and opinionated on this because and I've done so many courses. If you look at my profile, you'll see how many courses, both in state and outside of the country, that I've done. So it is very, very important for you to pay attention to how you present your report because it tells you. The next thing that tells you is your schedule, how you actually manage your schedule. Do not overstretch yourself such that you are now booking like 5 or 7 clients in a day and you're constantly between, hey, what was your case now? So you are that parent that if you are not paying attention to the nitty gritty, so for me, this is my systematic fraud. These are the things that a lot of people may overlook, but I do believe also speaks to your professionalism. You cannot continue to overstretch yourself present. You are most likely going to burn out before you meet your KPI, before you meet your goal at the end of the year. So you have to pay attention to how you schedule and how you manage you. And there's also something, scarcity fuels curiosity. The scarcer you are, and I'm not saying this for those who may be my clients on this call, but it's not that I'm trying to keep myself out there, but the scarcer you are when you say, oh, if somebody calls you and say, oh, can we talk about da, 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 and you're like, oh yeah, sure, we can talk. You're gonna begin to work. Do you actually have clients at all? Am I the only clients that you have? Or can I say, oh, this would be fantastic to listen to you about that, but can I schedule 10 a.m. Tuesday morning for you so that I can have the time to spend with you and listen to you? It gives them an air that, yes, you are not only professional, but you are also mindful of the state. As much as coaching and therapy is a new thing or a new fad in Nigeria, trust me, for those who work with HNIs, it is really important how you present yourself and how you present your schedules from the first call. Another thing that is at the background that is running is also how you keep your books. And your books include your financial bookkeeping records, your session bookkeeping records. Your session book, your financial bookkeeping records include what your rate cards look like, how you charge. You charge the person says, I'm Linda Ikeji, and okay, so this one is rich enough to pay me so amount, or do you already have a rate? Because you already have like an avatar of your clients in mind. Now, if they're unable to meet that particular rate, do you have discounts? I remember that one of the things that made me suffer the most that PF had to knock into me was that never make your gifts higher than your price. And what that meant was that that first year, I was giving out so much discounts that at the end of the day, I'd given out, say, about 3.5 million naira in discounts. And I came back home with just 1 million naira. See how very generous I was. If any professional auditor were to audit me, they probably wonder if I'm running a charity organization. So you have to first put yourself in the mindset of this is a business and this is what I am. I've got a colleague and a friend who says that even at speaking engagements, that there is a limit that she can do. And there are those that she would never accept from certain organizations. Not because they can't pay her, but because again, it may not suit her own image. And that's okay. So if the beginning of the more you are self-aware, the more your business aware, and the more your business aware, the more you can structure your practice to suit the person that you are always looking at becoming at the end of the day. So that's about financial records. So know your rates from the beginning, and even if when you want to give discounts, be aware of how much you're giving a discount day by day. The next part is, I mentioned your session records. So your session records include your report writing, your detailed reports, refer documents. If somebody refers a client to you, or if you're referring clients to another person. Always have a referral document at the ready. Um, I'll share a link to my own protocol for referral. So at least you do not have to feel it like you have a referral, but once you see the entire process, you can copy it and use it. I would also send the documents for an ideal client avatar for family coaches. Please, if you're a team coach, don't ask me for the team coach version or the client coach version. I'm just going to send one document where you can customize it to suit your family coaching practice. But basically, what this is doing is putting you in the center space of noticing how the tentacles of your business would move, so that even when you begin to grow, you can grow from a rooted and grounded space as opposed to moving into other places, as opposed to just moving and waving into the wind, helter skelter. What else? Your session record also includes your session notes. So this is basically the dates that you have with clients, whether it's a free call or a paid call. The date you had the client, the duration, the observations, how the client's looking. The way I'm sweating now is an indication of stress. If I were therapizing myself right now, the reason I'm sweating is because I'm stressed. This in my room, but I'm stressed at this moment because I wasn't expecting this. That's one. Another thing is the observation would include the things that your clients say, how they feel it is important to the journey or the place that they are currently in. So those are your observations. And then your own, if this is a previous client, you want to talk about their own response to whatever it is that has happened before, or the home place that you're giving them before, and how well they've been able to do it. Then you think about the next part on that sheet would be what are the next things that you need to look at based on what we just shared with you in that session. The reason we always keep session notes is, and I think I've shared this before, is that when my sister, my family friend, an amazing woman, and she passed on, um, in her in a mercifully beautiful way, she named me as the person to take over her practice, meaning that whoever she had left that she was seeing, I was meant to ensure that they get to the place, a soft landing after her death, and either continue with them or close their session as best as possible. And when that happened, it was I didn't even know how to put it, but it made me more conscious of how well I keep my notes. So even just apart from having a notebook where I write my session notes, I have a Google Drive where I also keep records of my session notes. Now, because of confidentiality, after you have closed the session with people, it is okay for you to either delete that session or to write a summary. What I've now included in my practice this year as part of my session record is a closing therapy report that talks to the client about what the number of sessions I've had with them, the things that we've covered, the important goals that they intend to continue post-session, and my recommendation for them. And once I have done that and I have a copy of that, I can trash or delete the session notes, because you don't want your client session notes getting into the wrong hands at any point in time. Your PC could get robbed or something could happen. You don't want it getting into the wrong hands. So once you are done with a particular case, please close it appropriately. So those are your those are your financial records, and then your session records are very important. Collaboration is also another behind the scenes structure that you have to know. When you are in a particular niche, the people you collaborate with must speak to that niche in a way that one promotes you and also promotes the other person in a light of professionalism and proficiency. So it is about recognizing that the people that you work with have a symbiotic relationship with them where you feel comfortable that we say collaboration or competition, right? You are conscious of the fact that as much as possible, this person is not going to rub off on you um, in a way that tarnishes your reputation, and vice versa. So you are not going to say, oh, because you're a parenting coach, you're going to like make the team coach a subordinate or subservient to you in any particular way. And you know, and vice versa. So you have to kind of learn to promote and ensure proficiency when you're collaborating with one another. For instance, as a trauma recovery therapist, I would be very um, hesitant to work with someone who does not even believe that trauma is real. And there are certain people, certain coaches that will tell you that some trauma is a myth, that your childhood experiences are your childhood experiences. You should forget them, don't mind them, and all that. So that doesn't promote my proficiency and it doesn't promote my professionalism in any way, right? And I know that in some cases people do that just to push controversies, but then just be sure that that's something that serves you well. Ah, I am so sorry. Oh, since morning. Hello, can you hear me now? And I have said so much. Hey, and I have said so much. I wish somebody had called me on the phone. Okay, can anyone hear me now, though? Okay, thank you, Coach Joy. Okay, it is clear now. Okay, I am so sorry. I didn't know that there was a problem with the. I've said so much. Okay, but the onboarding process, probably consultation and exit. Yes, so that's it for the ABC steps. So, actually, to exit the in-between, I think I've shared a little bit about that. Do we have questions from that space before I go to the next question? Let me summarize what I have said. From the beginning, okay, let me, Sumbititi said something about, gosh, there's so many. Okay, how do you determine how to price your services? Okay, Marina, what I did or what Pierre taught me was begin with the end in mind. How much do you want to begin with the end in mind? Two ways. The first one, how much do you want to earn? Um, how much do you want to earn at the end of the year, for instance? Now divide that by the number of months that we have. How many sessions do you imagine having in a week? Or how many people do you imagine having per week? Now, how much of that can you? So, an example would be to say, if by the end of 2025, you want to have made 15 million naira, and you divide that by how many months do you want to work? I work roughly 10 months in the year. Um, the other 2 months are for um, imagining public holidays, religious holidays, my own personal vacation and all that. So roughly 10 months in a year. So 15 million now would be across. So I'm thinking about 15 million across 10 months, or the number of weeks in that 10 months. How much would that be? Now, how many clients can pay that amount, or how many clients can I see in a day to give me roughly that, basically, to give me roughly as close to that amount in a week or in a day. That's beginning with the with the end in mind, the first part. The second part would be to say, what is your current expense? Imagine you are the sole provider for your family right now. And that one really shook me, right? When PF said that. Imagine you are the sole provider. How much is house rent? How much is school fees for your children? How much is this and how much is that? Because the idea is for you to be self-sufficient enough to at least do as much as possible, not just be a contributor to the family wealth, but also if a push comes to shove and you are the family breadwinner, what happens in that space? So you are able to not just contribute, but also show your family's wealth as best as possible. So if you know the expense of your family in a year, now add 20% to it as profit or income. Another 10% for taxes or overheads and things like that, of whatever it is your income is. So not only do you have a profit margin of like maybe 20%, you also have the coverage for maybe insurances and taxes and what have you. Think about medical health care and all that. That because if this was a not just a private practice, a practice, a full-fledged corporate practice, not only would you be paying your own medical well-being, you'll be paying for those of your co-workers and your employees as well. So think about that. Now, once you have those percentages, add them up. That gives you an idea of how much you need to make in a year. When you are able to make that, when you're able to identify that, now divide the number of days or weeks in the year towards that. That gives you how much you may need to charge. That rough ratio or that rough rate doesn't mean that that's where you're going to start from, but it gives an idea of where you're working towards. Week by week, month by month, week by week, month by month, so that you can meet a particular target at the end of the day. So your first year, you may not even know it at all. And when the first time we did this together, we did not even come finish like this close to my target. But now, when I'm submitting my KP, when I was submitting my KPA last year to yeah, even though I had like I think I had 6 weeks of unplanned break in 2024. Not only did I surpass how much we thought together, I was the one that was pushing PF to say, see, this is what I need at the end of the day, because this is what having that vision ahead gives you from the beginning. So you have to put yourself in the position of knowing what is the big picture that I'm working towards. Now I can sufficient, and I know that there's somebody on this call who also has that dream of what it looks, what her vision for the next 10 years look like. And it may not be something that is manifested immediately, but once that picture is there, it makes it easy. To summarize what I have said before, while my audio was low, is to say that the entry point is position yourself in the community or amongst the audience that you want to be with and serve shamelessly. Serve by being there, by being the people that people would refer to when they are talking about a particular niche or a particular need of theirs in that area. The second part is observe the people who call on you. Those may be the people that you have been called to serve. So observing them means you are noticing the pattern, you are noticing the questions that they ask, you are noticing the challenges that they come with. You have like an all for one bundle of strategies and tools with the effect course, put them into use. So, for instance, the person who's struggling with parental communication or anger, or the person that is struggling with anger management, or the person that is struggling with infidelity in their relationship, or the person that just wants a marriage enrichment program, or something like that, you can create courses or products or services that speaks to the patterns of what you see often and often in the people that you've been serving all this while. I made mention that in the first 18 months of my learning, of my certification, what I did was to do every month a free program that sold my services. Who Aameenah is, what our private practice looks like, what are the problems that we attend to. And a lot of the time, by the time I was done noticing the patterns, I realized that trauma was a big deal. So I went into trauma and emotion management, and that became my new niche. So remember that I said I started with adolescents. Now, not only do I work with adolescents, I work with their parents, and I work with anybody that is dealing with trauma recovery because of the lessons that I had to learn. So I had to go learn more to be able to do that. That's the second stage. The third stage would be to pay attention to, your behind the scenes. So from the way you charge people, already position yourself in the way you want to be addressed. If you want to be addressed as a HN9, and remember that the PF would say you have to be the ultimate Muslimah that attends to family life. You have to, there's a particular way that he puts it, like kind of like the queen of family life practice for Muslim community and things like that. And I will shy away and I'll say, no, I don't think I'm ready for that and everything. But I do know now that not only would people come in the Muslim community to come and attend to family issues, but I'm also very well known as somebody who can attend to trauma and trauma recovery efficiently. Right now, in that, I've also gone about it that there are certain things I would not do. I would not, for instance, attend to addiction because that is not my forte. And I also know attend to infidelity because that is also not my forte. And I do couples counseling? Absolutely. And I work with relationships? Absolutely. So, it is that is the way it works. So you have to pay, you have to begin with that end in mind of who are your likely audience or who are the people who want to be your audience and position yourself that way. And of course, you know that energy goes where the focus is, isn't it? So that's the next step. The next thing behind the scene is your records, your session records and your financial records. So from your rates, that's where the issue of the rates come in. How you want to rate your services is very important. What I do is to say I have a free 15 minutes call on Mondays and Fridays. In between that, I'm busy either writing reports or attending to sessions or I'm teaching in the institute. So my life is pretty busy enough. Now, if you want a free 15 minutes call, you have to schedule early. And I mentioned that for you to schedule, it's a mark of professionalism. You do not want people to begin to think that you're always available because not only would that make you feel, would they make them wonder, are you really good at your work? But it also puts you in a stretched position where you may get to a place where you have more demands and little time, and then you're stretched thin and you begin to be unable to actually attend to people that you want. So always schedule better than respond instantly in that way. And like I said, it makes your mark of professionalism that much higher. Um, what financial records, right? Financial records also include noticing how much discounts you give at the end of each year. So if you are giving, and the way to do this is you have to use, I like to say, an app that helps you monitor how you are charging, or you use Google. And when I started, I was using spreadsheets. I was using Excel. This is how much this person called me today for this so minutes, or I had a session today for so minutes. This is how much I made. That was how I was doing it until I remember that I had downloaded this app way back in, I think, 2012 or 2015, Wave apps, and that's what I use currently. There are several other apps. There's Zoho apps and all that who not only manage your schedules, the CRM, but they also manage your budgeting and your income and expenditure and things like that. They are able to help you monitor how much you are making and how much what that you give in discounts because it's okay for you to give discounts. I mean, that's now dependable truck sites speaking, right? The next part is the session records. Now, your session records include your report. You have to make sure that your report is like outstanding. There is nothing that sells you as a professional as much as your report does. The other part of it is that you are also keeping in-session notes. Your in-session notes include It can be a spreadsheet. Though I think Sage, no, she's not here. I don't know if she's here. Um, she has all those apps that you can actually purchase maybe for a year or more, or for a lifetime, that can actually help you put your therapeutic practices from your session notes and all that into play. So it's basically, the name of the app is Wave 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 apps. That's the one I use. But I know the one that is most popular in Nigeria now, also made by the same company, is Zoho. ZOHO, Zoho Books, right? So those ones can help you with your um, budgets and your finances, basically, to help you at the end of the year, you know how much you've made and how much you're giving out in discount and how well you're doing if you and your expenditure as well at the end of the day. So you can see that, in one spreadsheet. What was I saying? Session records. A minor session records include having a spreadsheet that covers the date of your sessions with the person, the name of the person, the observations that you noted of that person. That is, how they're looking, how they're speaking to you, and all that, and what are the important things that they are saying, right? What are the things that you notice from what they are saying? That's your observation. If they are a recurring client, you want to note also what you've said last session that they are now responding to in this session. So your client's response will feature here. Then you will now talk about what you want to cover. Part of your session records that I didn't mention is also a therapy plan or a coaching plan. If I'm more prepared, if I'm called again, I can share an overview of a master class that I intend to take my mentees through. Just give you a snippet of what a therapy plan looks like. Because people think that talk therapy is just about listening, and then you say, oh, go and do this or go and do that. A lot of the time, the reason you have a report handy is because the root cause analysis is featuring in their current situation. And you have to have a plan to address that. So, for instance, somebody whose personality dissonance is very obvious. They have a pseudo personality of a creative compatible and a systematic for that is super high. And then their dependable talk and intimidating hormone is super low. You know that this person, there is something going on. You check their culture compatibility. It is not even third world, it's somewhere in the non-existing world. You check their love language and they are probably skyrocketed. You know that there's something here. Then you check whether they are singleness assessment or their marital assessment. And there's an indication that, this person not only had a troubled childhood, their teenage years was also very troubled, and then they did not feel like they can, their actions, their words, and things like that are not in sync or aligned. You know that there's something in their childhood. You cannot now just sit down and say, okay, so they now come to you and the first session is, okay, so tell me about yourself. And then they talk. And the only thing they are talking about is how their husband abuses them or how their wife is always annoying them and this and that and that. You have not helped them because the report is meant to help you take what their current situation is and what their root cause analysis has shown and create a plan to help them get to the goal that you would have identified in the debrief session. So that's what the therapy plan really looks like. And that's part of your session records. Another reason we also keep session records that I mentioned is that I had lost someone, who now appointed me as somebody who was going to take over, who was going to help her close her practice efficiently. I had never thought about keeping session records for that purpose because what that afforded me was to be able to say that I was going to be the one to either tell her clients that she had passed on or that I was going to be the one to give her clients a soft landing, either refer them or continue on with them if they so choose. But she trusted me enough with her client's confidentiality to say this is it. And this is one of the things that we also need, because we know that we are human and we are not immortal. But we need to be able to have that opportunity to say, please either take on my practice or close my practice efficiently, efficiently as possible. The last part of it is that your session record, now what I, because of clients' confidentiality, I also want to ensure that the clients that I see last year, I'm most likely not going to see them again this year. So I do what I call the therapy closing reports. That includes what has my clients learned in the sessions that we've had, the number of sessions that we had, what are the strategies that I've taught them, so that if there's something, because some clients don't take notes. Some they take notes, but some don't. So there is something, a 2-page report that shows the strategies that I've taught them in very brief, maybe two lines or 2 sentences, that they can always go back to and say, oh yes, when I had this problem the other time, Aameenah taught me this strategy, and they can always go back to it. And once that is done and I close that case, I delete or trash that the client session, again, to protect the confidentiality of my clients. Another thing you can do is to put pseudonyms to your clients when you're keeping records. But I'm getting old. I can't remember what the pseudonyms that I attach to people all the time. So I use original names as much as I can, but I trash and close reports as soon as I can do. And that's the end of that. So after you're closing the report and you've done that, that's it. We were talking, so I think that's it. I think that's okay, a little bit more. Let me remove my earpiece. Is it better now? I've been shouting since, so it's even increasing my headache already. Is it better now? Okay. All right, though. I hope the people behind me are not going to make noise. So that's it. Um, so I've mentioned the name of the app. Let me just type it again. What's the next question? Anyone? We've now charges in dollars, so you may not be able to so both of them are available on iOS and Android and Google Play Store, so you can always get them. Okay. Any other question? So that's like the ABC step of a structured family practice, your entry and your exits from A to Z. I hope that helps. Okay. Yes, I remember. If you want to know more, you want to, just pick my brain at the Family Life Conference. Come to the Family Life Conference happening in Benin. I plan to be there by God's grace. I bought my ticket. My Ashobi is here. I pray my dealer does not disappoint. So you will definitely meet me there. And then we can talk some more. uh, talk some more. Okay. So I'm taking away the earpiece. I was trying to minimize the noise that you will be hearing at the end of the day. Hope this helps. I'm trying to look for questions. Any other questions about structured? Replay is available. I'm sure if you belong to the NFSEP group, you'll get it. Okay. Somebody asked a question after IB. Yes, somebody asked, Timlola Abolari asked, my struggle is with time and my career. Yes, see at the conference, I can't wait to give you a hug. Time and career. Now, I do this full time. So it may seem obnoxious if I were to tell you that you can manage it, because we know that there are people who do 2 jobs and everything. But I'm also very rounded enough to let you know that family life practice is can be consuming. it is not just the time that you spend with your clients one-on-one that matters. It is the time that you are using to also think about the tools and the strategies, writing the reports, planning the strategies, making sure that you are actually meeting their goals and their needs that matters. So, it's a lot to go. But here's what I can say in scheduling your time and career. If if you have like an average 9 to 5 job, for instance, your target will most likely be those people whose time zone are not like your night at the same 9 to 5. So most likely when you are closing at 5 p.m. and getting home at 6 p.m., they are just most likely waking up or it's early morning for them, or maybe mid-noon for them, and you can actually have a conversation and scheduling time with them. Another thing would be to say that you do not have to do this job every day. In my agreement with my clients, I let them know that my working hours are between Tuesdays and Thursdays. That means I only officially see clients Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Now, between this, because I'm also a mom and my daughter is not that independent enough to do most things by herself, she's just 7. I make time for school runs in the morning. I make times for school runs in the afternoon. I schedule time for nap time and all that. So I don't work like all hours. But guess what? Majority of my clients are not even based in Nigeria. Yeah, at least 70% of my clients are not based in Nigeria. That's the interesting thing. So for me, it is being able to say, these are my working hours, these are the time that I would dedicate. Now I can listen to somebody and listen to their unique situation and say, okay, I'm going to make an exception to see them every Monday. Because this person is an HNI who has a lot to do, but Monday is about their own free time, is the only free time that they have too. So I would see them on a Monday, maybe a Monday afternoon, because Monday mornings I'm usually taking scheduled free calls or exploratory sessions, writing reports, meeting my own mentees and all that. And Fridays, because Fridays are usually short, by the time I go to Juma and I come back, I'm even worked out. And Saturdays, I do see clients, but I see clients who, I work with teenage clients mostly on Saturdays, because that is about the time that makes sense to work with adolescents. It is the time they are most likely free from school. It is the time that their parents can allow them to be on the screen, or think about whatever reason, and it would work. So I'm most likely from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturdays, except I'm teaching, I'm seeing clients on Saturdays. And then the only rest day that I have is Sunday. And you want to take that away from me because it is convenient for you as the client. Bah, I need to rest. So I set that boundary from the get-go. Sometimes it takes me a week to negotiate schedules with client, but I always tell them this, and something that Mommy Mo taught me, that if you were sick and you had to go to the hospital, you would not negotiate the date that you go and meet the doctor in the hospital. So the same way that you would know that this is something that you need to pay attention to, your mental well-being, your relationship well-being, something you need to pay attention to. You need to take some time out, and it's not forever. Which is one of the reasons that I value having a coaching plan, because a coaching plan gives me an estimated number of time that I'm going to spend with the clients. And once it's done, now in fact this year, in fact, the entire April, I gave all my clients one free session, like a one free session blank check. Call upon it whenever you need it. That was like my birthday gift to them, because I wanted them to know that this is not the end, but you can always call upon me. And sometimes people will come back and say, you know what, I need a retainer. How much will it take for me to see you every month for the rest of the year? And then we'll talk about it. That's another record that you need to keep, by the way, right? So, and then we'll talk about it. And then, some pay quarterly and some pay annually, and it's okay. So you have to have an idea of, well, you see, these things I learned on the go. It wasn't something that just showed up like that. But to manage your career, your passion and your work would take a lot of creativity. It would take conversations. I have endless conversations with my daughter who continues to say, oh, you're always gentle and you're spending so much time with your clients. When are you going to pay attention to me? And I say, okay, Sunday. But last Sunday, God knows, she'll say, oh, mommy, you're sleeping now. My mind also needs to recover. She's actually laughing behind me. My mind also needs to recover. So it's like it's an endless negotiation, but it is doable. Which was why I said it would be obnoxious of me to say, oh, you can do it. You can do it only if you are creative, consistent, and compassionate enough to recognize that there are a lot of people that would sacrifice, including you. Right? So, Coach Adron, yes, so I can remember I heard from last year too. All right. So I think that answers that question about the career angle. Any other questions? We are normal. We are humans. So one of the things I think I learned last year was, that was me after I had to go back into therapy myself, because like I said, I had an unscheduled 6 week break, and it was because of a medical thing. So when I went back into therapy, it was that I made a pact, and it was actually founded on research that after every 25 sessions, coaches and therapists need to take a break for at least 7 days to recover. Because, and for those who are coming to the Shadows Holding Ground on Saturday, it's because we know that we are human, that we know that we are very good at this job. Because robots would not understand most of the human emotions, right? But we also have to be compassionate to ourselves, to recognize that we need ourselves to function for ourselves first and foremost before any other person. You're only able to do this job because you are breathing. If you were forced to just not be able to do this job, you won't do it. So why not just give yourself that time? So I made a promise with my therapist that after every 25 sessions, and then I had an accountability partner who would call me and say, Madam, how many sessions have you done this month? What does it look like? When are you taking your break? So she pushed and pushed and pushed until I said, okay, so this week I was going on a mini vacation with my daughter, and that's where we've been. And that was really, it really helped me to feel more connected to myself, to notice that, don't wait till your cup is empty before you begin to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself even as you're doing the work. I learned from Zura Lolore to, this dance therapy. Just dance for no reason. Shed the steam off, because we give so much to other people. We need to replenish our own cup as often as possible. So 25 is my own mark of, taking time off. And you can probably either, do more or do less. And I think that would work as well. Any other questions on structures? I promised 2 documents earlier. The first document is how to create your avatar. How to create your client's avatar. And what was the last? I can't remember the second one. I can't remember the second one. So maybe when you're watching what's it called? When you're watching the replay, anyone can remind me on the group and I'll send it. But the one that I remembered, I'll send it now. Okay. So all the things that we need to register for the conference has already been posted on the group with ifedacademic.com/AFLDC. I hope that, this is our thing. Where else would we be able to show up so proudly and talk about the family space without without feeling bad. Somebody just asked a question. Can you please share? Please, I am not a male. There's somebody here that will call herself the last born. The only thing that you can, that is the difference between me and her, is that I'm the firstborn of PF because I've known him since 1980, 1991. So that's the only difference between she and I. So, can you share a template on samples of the structures of answering clients you mentioned? Coach Sarah, I'm trying to understand. Answering clients in what sense? Is it answering them for the exploratory session or scheduling? Can you please expatiate more? Oh, thank you, Tonvititi. So the document, I haven't sent it here. I'm going to be sending it to the NFSCP group, or we'll send it to the admin who can now share to people. Or admin, what do you think? Do you want me to share it here? I would need to look for it on my system. Um, yeah. I'm trying to look for it on my system to know. It is. Yeah. Okay. So I've found it. Okay. So admin has said that I should share with her, and they'll share with you. So I'll send it to the admin, and you can she'll share it with everybody. You definitely have it. So that's how to identify your ideal clients, and kind of like create an avatar. The more the picture is clearer for you, the more you can tailor your sales post, your sales copy towards that avatar. It will be as though you're speaking to them directly. That's what the client identifier matrix does, a map does for you. So, once you have that, I think that would help you. Yeah. Yes. Can you explain via audio? I mean, is it possible for them to unmute and talk? Can you allow people to unmute and talk, please? So at least I can get an idea. We have about 45 minutes to go. Okay.
Okay, so let me just clarify the question I was asking. So for me, I am just starting out, and the audience that I want to cover are people that are about to get married, like premarital coaching. And so when I put content out there and people want to reach me for maybe just to make connection, or maybe they are even engaged and they're having issues in their relationship. So how do I, what's the structure that I can bring in that can enable them to reach out to me and tell me what they are currently going through, where they need my input in their relationships?
So what I hear you say is that you want to find out how you can attract those premarital audience to meet you, or do you already
Yes.
have them meeting you?
Yeah, the document. So I already have people that I see right now, but I'm also preparing to show up and go out there on social media and make content. So when I make content about oh, maybe conflict management in relationship. And then I talk about deeper issues. Because I'm not able to cover everything that can probably provide solution to what they are struggling with, and they want to make connection with me to tell me the dynamic of what's going on in their relationship. So what documents can I put forward? Maybe a link in the video that I made, and then they can, from that documents, they can tell me what they are going through in their relationship, and then we can connect and I can provide solution.
If you have a website or you have a social media space, an easy entry document would be like a 5 question form that captures their name, that captures their biodata, and a brief of what they are currently struggling with. Then you can now get them to schedule a 15 minutes free call or a 30-minute. I mean, the people who do 1 hour free call. When I started with 1 hour. Now that I know that my time is precious, it's down to 15. Within 15 minutes, you have to be able to tell. What I'm also assessing is to know what the problem is and if I can help. Because if you come to me like, oh, I'm struggling with porn addiction, I'm struggling with alcohol addiction, or I'm struggling with infidelity, this and that. I have people I can refer you to. Mommy, who can handle infidelity crisis in a marriage? Child Lawrence can handle addiction and pertinent issues surrounding it and things like that, right? Because what people really want in that time sometimes is a first aid process. All I do is to listen and to tell them, okay, I hear you, I understand how difficult this can be for you within that 15 minutes window. And I let them know that help is possible. And however, I can let them, have this colleague. Now, if it is something that I can handle and I have the space to handle, I immediately let them know that the best thing for us to do, if it is not a crisis issue, would be for me to take an assessment so that I am not biased by the entire story. There will still be time for you to tell me so much more. But right now, I need to know the underlying causes that may be actually making this situation spring up the way it is. So would you be open to having an assessment? Now, from that assessment, I can now be, once I do your assessment and I give you your report, what I would often get is, wow, it's like you've been living with me for ages. It's like a fly on the wall and this and that. So they now feel known, they feel understood. Then we can now talk about the story which surrounds the situation. It is with that story, the reports that they have created, that I will create a therapy or coaching plan. Therapy in the case of, this is a traumatic case that has to do with childhood meaning, or, there's an embodiment of some sort of significant emotional experience there. Coaching is this, or sometimes I actually misspoke, therapeutic coaching. Coaching in the terms of they need skills to be able to do certain things to make their relationship work, or to prepare them for marital, to prepare them for marriage and things like that. And then they have a coaching plan, 6 weeks, 10 weeks. The average that I do, the minimum that I do is 6 weeks coaching. Right? Because within 6 weeks, I can be sure that we'll talk about the beginning, the middle, and the end. In two sessions. Now I've given you guys exposed, so please don't call me again.
Thank you. That was quite
after that
instructive. Okay.
Yes, after the coaching session, we now negotiate the price. This is how much each session costs, right? We talk about the price. Oh, but Alaja, this is how much I can afford, blah, blah, blah. If I check my data and I see that I still have some options to give discounts within the year, I give discounts to suit that person. But if I know that you can afford, that you're just doing, Muslims are supposed to give freebies. They are supposed to be generous and this and that. I'll just be looking at you. Sorry, this is why. This is what I think I can give you, and we end the call, and that is it. But I would do okay. So what I have done is, number one, you've had a free session with me, as short as it is. We've been able to identify your root cause analysis. We've been able to do your root cause analysis, which you have paid for. So I don't feel like you have cheated me of any time at all. And I
Okay.
have been able to provide you with an overview such that even if you carry that plan to another coach who may charge you lesser, you would not have you would not be cheated out of the help that you need, which for me is really important, that you get the help that you need. So at least you can carry the report and the plan ahead. Somebody created this for me and this and this and this is what they say. If the person is open to it and they can do it, they'll do it for you. And I don't mind, really. But what I always know that there is going to be a me factor missing. There's always going to be a me factor missing. And I'm okay with that. So that gives me confidence that I'm doing my job as best as possible.
Oh, thank you. I have a follow-up question on that. Based on the 15 minutes free session that they have with you, so I'm curious to know, how do I transition between, let's say I am doing like 30-minute free session with me. Do I get to do the assessment within that 30 minutes and also get to maybe listen to them? What if I extend that time? What do I do, and how do I make them maybe pay if there's an extension of and we've not been able to do so much within the 30 minutes? How do I navigate that part?
So your assessment should not be something that you're asking questions and answers. I hope you know that.
Okay.
If you don't have a Google form, please get your assessments into a Google Sheet right now, at least until our Oyela app comes out, right? But you have to be as professional as possible. That's the truth. Now, if you have to be sending what document to your clients and then they mark and you have to manually calculate, we have a service in TSI. I hope I'm not shooting my foot, but we have a service that helps you put your assessment into a document, and then you can now put it. You can now send a link to your clients. They fill the form. You create. You have an automated response sheet. All you need to do is just prepare the report, and you are good to go. So between the time that they are speaking to you, you should be able to sell, like, this assessment is going to give you an insight into what are the reasons you feel triggered by this person, or what are the reasons that you feel like this is very important for you in your marriage and things like that. So, but I don't want to be biased, because if you tell me all the story now, the report may be biased and be, linking the response to what you have told me. Why don't you take the assessment first? So you have an unbiased professional report that, one of the analogies I often give my clients is to say, if you go to the doctor and you tell them that you have headache and stomach ache and body pain, they won't tell you go and use paracetamol alone. Because if you haven't used paracetamol, you wouldn't come to the hospital. You must have done something already to get into that space to say, you know what, I need to see a doctor. So right now, we need to know what are the things running in the background that is making you feel this way. And that is where they'll draw your blood, the doctor will now interpret it for you that, madam, it is malaria, or oga, it is typhoid, or, you do more tests and things like that. So this is the same way the assessment works. It gives us an idea of what is going on in the background, right? And from there, now, I've sold my assessments. So I've sold my assessments in less than 5 minutes. And they're intrigued. While I was talking, a parent had spoken to me on Monday that she wants her daughter to speak with me, but because I'm an hijabi, and she doesn't want anybody that is going to speak to her about spirituality and everything, I said, no problem. She's a lady that I would, worst case, would do WhatsApp call and everything. So I told the mom that to give her the assessment. Now the child is asking for my IG and my Twitter. And I'm like, I'm not present on Twitter and everything. But what happened? Because I had sent the link to the assessment. While here also, the parent now said, oh, she's intrigued by the assessment. She said she was going to take the assessment.
Wow.
End of story.
And they get to pay for that too.
And they get to pay for that.
Okay. Okay. The assessment is not free. It's not part of the free session.
No, it's not part of the free session.
Okay.
The free session is you talking, me listening.
Okay.
I'm missing A. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
This must
Okay.
be my heart. So
Okay.
painful. That's my
Okay.
first session.
Thank you. That's very insightful. Cleared all my my questions, and I'm quite clear on what to do. Thank you.
All right. I think my daddy's last born is next.
Good evening, Coach Aameenah. Thank you so much.
Good
You. So I'm not supposed to ask this question, but I missed some things while you were trying to explain to Sarah. And so I think I also have the same line of question. So at a point you were explaining about, okay, when we get the person's data and then we ask what's their challenge and all of that, and then we now book a 30-minute call or 15-minute call with them. So while they are talking, are we going to like stop them like, hey, you are saying too much. Don't say too much. Come and fill assessment form so that I don't get biased. Or I mean, like, at what point are you going to stop that person from, for instance, I was trying to talk to someone yesterday, a single lady. And so me, I know that I don't usually do 30 minutes, probably because I talk a lot, So with that lady, I did 1 hour. So, but thankfully she said, oh, she's going to do assessment and all. But, she had said so much. So I told her that this assessment, and yeah, you spoke extensively about report, but I have somebody like a friend, a colleague in FSEC that helps me with reports. So I just pay her the money because I don't like, it takes my time. So I told the lady right there that, look, I'm going to do your assessment, but I'm not the one that will generate the report for you. So it doesn't sound like, because you already told me your story, and then so I'm generating a report based on what you have told me, that look, your report is going to come unbiased and unfiltered because it's one of my colleague that's going to do it. But now I'm asking this question on the fact, based on the fact that, okay, if I'm the one that want to do the report, so am I going to tell the client that, look, don't say too much, just stop there? So can you just apply for assessment? So that's my number one question. Number two is, so after they opt in to pay for assessment and they do assessment, they get their report. So is it the debriefing you're talking about that they will pay for, like talking about root cause, what their root cause problem is, and trying to address what their challenge is, like, oh, I think you're facing this because this, da, like what's your growing up and all that. So at what point am I going to ask them to pay for that? Do I call it a pre-coaching session or a debriefing session? And at what point am I going to say, oh yeah, pay money? And like, what's the charge, like price range, since it's not the main coaching? Because if I heard you correctly, you were like, it's from that conversation you are going to tell them that, look, coaching is six sessions minimum and it's going to cost you this much and all that. So in case they don't do that session, they don't sign up for that coaching, but at least you are not looking like, oh, I've lost. So at what point are they going to pay? I don't know if you understood my question, but I've asked like three
I will
questions.
try and rephrase it so that you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. So the first question is like, how do you manage a client who talks a lot during the free session? Like, how do you cut them off? Right? That's the first question.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
The first thing that I do is to take charge of that conversation. So I start immediately by saying, so you've opted for the 15 minutes free call and our time starts now. Now, what I want yours to do in this time is for you to tell me what is going on and how you think I can help. Right? So already they're in that mind of, hey, 15 minutes now will be okay. At that point where they are wondering, will 15 minutes now be okay? If they feel like it's not going to be okay, I let them know that we can talk now. But that means you get an invoice from my company immediately after this call to cover the excess time, right? Again, professionalism. This may not work with somebody who you are familiar with, or who knows you through somebody or through a community and says, oh, this is Aameenah. It may not work. And which is sometimes why I would also give some time for those people and say, oh, Auntie or Mr. Lagbaja, you know what? I know this is what you want to talk about. Can we chat instead? At least you know that I can be reading your chats, but I may not have time to immediately respond. But if you want me to talk to you, this is how much time I can spare, because this time is scheduled. It didn't always come easy for me because, again, I'm an empath. My nature would be I would want to immediately fix or solve whatever is going on with you. But I had learned to infuse that structure because I needed to protect my professionalism, my integrity, and also to put boundaries to my own energy. If not, I will continue to. I mean, almost every year, there's Dr. Ebo will say, Aameenah, you're always getting sick. It's because we do so much. I take on so much as well. So I need to protect my energy. So take charge of the conversation from the beginning. The next question that you asked is at what point does the money, or do they begin to pay you, or do you talk about the root cause analysis? Now, I charge for the debrief session alongside assessment.
Okay.
So it is the debrief that gives me the opportunity to go over the reports with the client, that makes me talk to the client about what the next stage is and how much, we identify the goals of the therapy or the coaching or the therapeutic coaching. And then we would now continue to say, we are likely going to take this number of sessions. This is the amount it is going to be. Some people will say, yeah, okay, go on, create the therapy plan. And then they see the bill and they say, yeah, I want to go and sell a lot of land. I'm coming back. They're not coming back home. But I'm okay. Because two things has happened. I have given them a first aid response with the report, with the therapy plan that they have, that they may or may not take to somebody else to go and use to learn, to find solution to their problem. That takes care of the problem. The second thing is, at least through this engagement, I am not at an entire loss. I have earned through the assessment a little bit, right? So that works in both ways. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So a follow-up question, what do you mean by therapy plan? Like, is it like you want to highlight the modules of what you want to teach them?
Let me see
How
if I
many?
can share an example. Give me a minute. I'll share an example. Please don't screenshot or your phone will spoil. Because what I've been asked to teach is something that people pay for. Here we go. Yeah, so here we go. Is an example of a therapy plan. Okay, so here you have the name, the therapy plan, and the objectives. The objectives are also called the plan's expected outcomes, what exactly they want to do, get at the end of the day. What I would do in each session, what are the items at the end of the day, how long it's likely going to take me, and how much it's most likely going to cost. That's the plan. So this is something like what a therapy session looks like. I'm a therapy plan. You're muted. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think we're nearing the end. Any other questions? We have like, how many minutes do we have left, admin? 10, 15 minutes? Any other question? Oh, my pleasure, Miss Parkers. Pleasure. Okie dokie. All right, so as we are closing, we are imploring, I am begging on behalf of the management team, on behalf of the AFLDC committee, planning committee that have they put so much, so much effort into making this trip worthwhile. For me, so this vacation that I'm on, this mini vacation that I'm on with my daughter, is like for her. Edo, I mean, Benin is actually my true break from it all. And I think that it is also an opportunity to refresh as professionals. It is very important that we take the time out, not just to um, not just to talk shop, but to actually plan towards making our work more effective than it really is now. And there's no, I mean, how many times in the year do we get to meet? The last time I saw Timbiti was 2024. I haven't seen her this year. The last time I saw, I mean, we need to have that time where we are together and we talk and we share and we feel connected to one another. So this work can be globally acknowledged. It is already going global. Believe me, when I got that call from the Lagos State Judiciary, I was, to say I was flabbergasted is saying the least. But by the time we sent in the proposal and we got the contract, it was like this was always meant to be, and it is because every sector in the country already recognizes that the majority of the problems that we're having stems from the family, and we are the ones with the authentic, the Obonge solution. Why are we shying away? We can only get the best from each other, not just by these virtual calls, but when we meet and we actually plan and collaborate together. So please, 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 and please, I am begging, if you haven't registered, go ahead and do so right away. And I would, when you see me, tell me that it was because you saw me on tonight's call that made you call. I'll give you a special, special, special hug for that. Thank you all so much. So I look forward to seeing you all in Benin City. You can wait from May, well, we'll be there from May 14th till May 17th, I think. So can't wait to see you. Okay. So in the absence of nothing to say, I hope I have been able to convince you and not confuse you that structures is the way to go. And that you can actually make so much from being so intentional. And I wish you all the best. Thank you, the Vision Guide. It's been